What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right. Well, thanks for everybody for tuning in to this video. I hope you guys will subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can get the content as it comes out on this channel, and also participate in the live streams that we have. We have a lot of very knowledgeable fans, boxing fans, that come to the channel, and I hope that you would accept my invitation to subscribe and attend those live streams. Also, thank you to everybody that supports the channel. Now, Eddie Hearn is talking again, and I got to tell you, man, this guy, this guy is a classic. He was talking about Adrian Bronner in an interview that came out on Fight Hype. I don't go to fighthype.com, but Fight Hype's web page, or excuse me, YouTube page. And it was an interview that must have been being done in Great Britain because it was a correspondent with a British accent. And they were talking to Eddie Hearn about a couple things. One of the things that he talked about was Adrian Bronner. And in the midst of talking about Adrian Bronner, he said something that was so patently false that I thought it was important to explain for the 100th time, at least. How many videos I have? Probably, I have had to explain this 100 times. Eddie Hearn says that the thing that keeps boxers from earning more money are the managers and the advisors, and that the promoter is the party to the agreement that is the reason why boxers make more money. He, of course, talks about the necessity of promoters and being a mouthpiece, and what the problem with boxers being self-promoters are, and, the whole thing. Now, I agree that promoters have a function in the world of boxing. I absolutely do agree with that. But for Eddie Hearn to say that it's like he's telling you, ignore your common sense and believe me. If a promoter pays a purse to a boxer, and that's what Eddie Hearn said. He said, look, we pay a purse to a boxer. So, of course, we're the one that's paying the boxer. We're the one that's making the money and helping the boxers get paid. But the manager and the advisor, alluding to Al Haymon, he said not just Al Haymon, but other people too, but he said Al Haymon's name. They get paid from the boxer. So consequently, they're taking money from the boxer, and I'm giving money to the boxer. Therefore, I'm the one that you need to talk to make sure that I'm the one that is going to be making sure that they get the most money. That is completely backwards. If you are paying an employee, the relationship between the person that is paying an employee, you're a cost. So I won't even do that. I'll just do the promoter. And that's why you hear Eddie Hearn say that boxers are overpaid. That I have to overpay this boxer, I have to overpay that boxer, right? This boxer, I overpay that boxer. Because you are a cost, you are a line item to him. You are a cost. A cost. And the way that profit works for somebody is that you try to minimize your cost and maximize your revenue. And if you have a set amount of revenue, you're definitely going to try to minimize your cost, because profit is the difference between how much money you spend and how much money you make. So a promoter, for that reason alone, since he's paying a purse, it's in his best interest to keep that purse to a minimum. because it's a cost for him. Common sense 101. That's not even business 101. That's common sense 101. A manager, on the other hand, gets paid a percentage of what the boxer makes. So if a just for an example, hypothetical, just for an example, let's say a boxer makes $100 and a manager gets 10% of that $100. That makes the manager get $10. The boxer gets $90. Under that arrangement, what happens if the manager is able to negotiate $1,000? Not $100, but $1,000. Now the boxer gets $900 and the manager gets $100. So the more the manager negotiates for the boxer, the more money the manager gets for the boxer, the more money the manager makes. So it's in the interest of a manager, of a true manager. I'll get into a scenario where that might not be good, might not be the case, but it's in his interest to make the boxer make more money. If an advisor gets paid off of a percentage of what the boxer makes, then the advisor is in the same situation as the manager, which is why the manager and the advisor want the boxer to make more money, because more money the boxer makes, the more money they make. That's common sense. Again, the promoter pays the boxer a purse. And so the boxer is a line item, which means the promoter is making his money off the profit of an event. He has to pay for the lights. He's got to pay for the venue. He's got to pay for the people in the security that night at the arena. They have to pay for for the interviews, for newspaper writers to write, marketing departments. All those are line items. Those are all things that cost money. One of the things that cost money are the purses for the boxers. So do you think he wants to pay the boxer more money? No, he wants to pay them less money. But for the sake of people that don't want to, it's not just that portion of it. There's also the fact that for a long-term relationship with the boxer who is in the promoter's stable, the promoter wants that boxer to go into the ring as often as they can get the boxer into the ring. Over the long haul, 3, 4, 5 matches, 3, 4, 5, 6 matches. In the case of Anthony Joshua, and Eddie Hearn has a 8 boxing match plan for Anthony Joshua. These contracts that he's sending to people, though I have not seen it, the offer is for 3 boxing matches, right? For example, the one with Adrian Bronner is for 3 boxing matches. He wants more than 1 match. Now, he'll take what he can get. If he can't get Adrian Bronner to sign for 8, and I doubt he would want 8 from Adrian Bronner, because Adrian Bronner might not have 8 bouts left in him. But this is obvious. This is just obvious. But for the sake of this, for people who like really kind of hardcore reading, I'm going to attach a link to an absolute great article that's called "The Incentives in Professional Boxing Contracts." And it was written by Rafael Tenorio, who worked in the Department of Economics at DePaul University. And it was a terrific article written some years ago. But he talks about the incentives of boxing. And he says that basically what the paper lays out is, and I've talked about this before, is that he separates high paid boxers from low paid boxers. In the article that's going to be in the description box, he divides them into higher weight classes and lower weight classes, and basically states that the lower weight class, that you have economics for lower weight classes and economics and incentive for higher weight classes. And he separates them by saying, you know, because the higher weight classes, the heavyweights and such versus the flyweights, that the heavyweights and the larger weight classes typically make more money. So there is an incentive for lower weight classes, or in this case, lower paid boxers, to enter the ring more often because they make lower purses. And they talk about how it kind of goes in two ways. Number one, they're better prepared, right? And less likely to lose because they don't have enough. They're not making enough money where they can afford to lose. And that works to the promoter's benefit because the promoter wants to make sure that he continually puts on shows. But on the other side, the bigger weight classes or the higher weight classes, the problem with paying them too much money is that they then can take long breaks in between bouts. And what happens is you wind up having longer periods of inactivity with the boxers, right? So what he says specifically is, in sum, the main indications of the wealth disincentive effect, he calls that a wealth disincentive effect, in professional boxing are longer intervals between defenses and fewer successful defenses per year observed in the heavier and wealthier weight categories. Lower weight boxers facing lower and flatter earning profiles have the incentive to exert more effort and successfully defend their titles more often to build up their savings towards retirements. Heavier or wealthier boxers can afford to be less active and less successful and still be able to retire or have voluntary layoffs after a few large paydays. So, once again, the wealth disincentive, which is the fact that a boxer makes more money, the wealth disincentive effect in professional boxing are longer intervals between defenses. Now, who have we seen this occur with? This occurs with what people complain about PBC boxers, like Keith Thurman, right? Isn't that what we see? A long intervals between defenses, fewer successful defenses per year, right? How many times have you seen Floyd Mayweather just go into a situation where when he only gets into the ring 2 times a year, 1 time a year? Keith Thurman, 1 time a year. Eventually, and that's why I don't believe Anthony Joshua in this money. But he 2 times a year. Sugar Ray Leonard, he would take 5, 6, he would take 3, 4 years off. But the lower weight classes, or boxers that aren't making much money, how many times has Sergey Kovalev got in the ring this year? Right now, every one of those bouts, every time and think of it, the profit loss situation, right? So the more you pay a boxer, really, for a promoter who has a stable, the more cost that adds to your show, and the less likely you are to have more shows. That is, in a nutshell, the situation with a promoter, and why you have promoters that constantly are having issues with boxers. What is it? Why is it that? And it's hilarious to me because Eddie Hearn is pointing at, examples of Mikey Garcia. He said Mikey Garcia was the biggest example of somebody that should be absolutely huge. He would be huge if he had a promoter. Well, Mikey Garcia did have a promoter. Mikey Garcia's had a promoter for all but, what is that? Is that 1, 2, 3? I think this will be his fourth fight where he didn't have a promoter. Roughly right around there. And he's probably made more money in the last 3 bouts without a promoter than he did in his entire career with Bob Arum as a promoter. Mikey Garcia also points to Vasyl Lomachenko. This is Robert Garcia points to Vasyl Lomachenko, who also has a promoter. And Mikey Garcia is earning 4 times as much money, right, for their retirement than Vasyl Lomachenko is, who's ranked very highly in fights, who gets into the ring 3 or 4 times a year. Right? So it just amazes me that this guy says the things that he says. It's just patently untrue. So not only is Eddie Hearn in a situation where I believe that he says things that are not true, factually not true, but just the line of reasoning he threw out there, he has to understand that. He has to understand it. It's just not true. So in the face of premier boxing champions, who, by the way, he said was overpaying boxers. How would he get the word overpaying boxers out of his mouth if he wasn't looking at them as a cost? You're never going to hear a manager talk about overpaying a boxer. They might be upset about the fact that a boxer is underpaid. Like, man, they're not. Look, Deontay, you can't take $12.5 million because this bout is should be worth $25 million. And I'm going to push for you to get $25 million because instead of getting $1 million myself, I will get $2.5 million myself. It's in their interest to get you paid. So I can understand why a promoter would say the things that this particular promoter says. I can understand that. Completely understand it. However, why he would say it. Because he needs boxers. And he needs to sell the boxer on the idea that he really is out there for them. And it's not just Eddie Hearn, it's Bob Arum, it is Don King, it's whatever promoter. It's Canelo Alvarez. Oscar De La Hoya. It's in the nature of being a promoter. However, one of the things that this article talks about is who actually gets paid the most. What boxer in what situation typically gets paid the most? And it is an agent. They refer to it as an agent. I would say it's a free agent. It's a free agent who can negotiate a deal with a promoter, a one-match deal with a promoter, and then can say, okay, I'll take this match with you, promoter. If I like your money, then yes, you can promote this bout. If I do not like your arrangement for this match, I will then go talk to another promoter, and I'll give my manager the ability to negotiate between multiple promoters. The problem when you get with a manager is where you have a manager that is representing multiple clients that all work for one promoter. And this is not some complex theory. This is just, it's what it is. Obviously what it is. So, I just, when I heard him say this, and, shout out to I think Ben Thompson's the guy that runs the page, to him for getting the interview. And, it is what it is. But please, let's not try to sell. Please, I just hope boxers don't believe this nonsense. This is, and maybe he's talking to the public, but anybody that would deal with any situation similar to this has to know. that a promoter's job, if somebody's paying you, their interest is to pay you the least amount of money for the greatest amount of value. That's the guy that is writing the check to you. The person the agent that is bringing you a deal, that is getting paid as a percentage or on a commission basis, right? It's in their interest to make sure that the product is sold for the most amount of largest amount of money. That's just how it is. So anyway, but go listen to Eddie, man. That's why I don't get Joshua. But anyway, it is what it is. And with that, I'm out. Peace.